This edition of the Bill podcast is dedicated to Vic Gallucci, part of the Bill family for 14 years. Always a friendly face. He always had a stash of biscuits ready to share with us all in the CID office. Rest in peace, lovely man. Hello, you lovely people. You are listening to the Bill podcast with me, Natalie Roles. Brought to you in association with GeorgeFairbrother.com and shop.saturdaymorningpress.co.uk. This is the start of a new era for the podcast as I take over the investigation for a while. I'm thrilled to have been asked by Oliver to guest present and catch up with some old friends from my McAllister days. We've recorded 9 episodes so far, which, as always, will be released monthly on SoundCloud and iTunes for free. Though, as of this release, we are now being distributed on Amazon Music and Spotify. So if you are listening on those platforms, we hope you enjoy the podcast. The Bill podcast is sponsored by GeorgeFairbrother.com. Now, in case you didn't know, George is the author of the Armstrong and Burton trilogy of political thrillers set in 1980s London. He is also the presenter of the Deck 4 podcast, which provides a deep dive into classic entertainment and culture. You can find links to all of George's books on his website. The Bill podcast is also sponsored by shop.saturdaymorningpress.co.uk, a new publishing venture focusing on books covering lost or long since forgotten television gems. Their first release is Deadly Dangerous Tomorrow, which features the scripts of 6 missing episodes from the prophetic ecological series Doomwatch, edited by TV historian Michael Seeley. Now it's time for me to share my first interview with you all. This podcast is the first of a trilogy with one of my favourite people, the beautiful and very talented Beth Cordingly. Pop the kettle on and relax as 2 former Sunhill coppers enjoy a good old catch-up. I'll see you again at the end of the show.
Beth! Nah! Hello, love. Are you in bed?
I'm sitting on my bed, yeah. I'm not in bed.
So Ollie's got us here today, and I just think it's great because we go back, actually, Beth, don't we?
Like the old days, doing our GMTV stuff and everything.
GMTV was our little breakaway from the Bill when we both finished, haven't we? What was the studio next door to the Bill?
Family Affairs.
Family Affairs, because we always used to meet in the canteen area, wasn't it? It was a weird thing because you said it was like the tables were there, but you never quite went over to the other tables. It was like cool.
And then I joined because I did Family Affairs for a year, then went off for a year and did other stuff, and then started on the Bill. And then I found it really difficult because it was studios were next to each other and they shared that canteen. I was going into the canteen going, who do I sit with? The Bill or the
torn. You were torn. Yeah. And I'm trying to think, who was your dressing room mate?
I think I might have had a dressing room on my own when I first arrived, not because I was important, just because it was free. And then different people came in and joined me. It was 2002.
2002. Okay, because I started 2001.
Did you?
Yeah, that's it. I thought you were there before me.
No,
So
you were much more established than me.
At that point, darling, maybe. And then you've just gone, woo! Where did you go to your drama school? What was drama school for you?
So when I left school, I had a year working and travelling and stuff. I worked at a theatre called Comedia in Brighton, and as their marketing officer. And then I went to Birmingham University and did English and drama. And then I wanted to go to drama school because I didn't have a clue about anything because no one in my family is in the industry. So but I'd already done 3 years at university, so I couldn't afford to do 3 years at drama school. So I went and did the postgrad 1 year at Webber Douglas, which is now closed, but was an amazing drama school, and loads of really cool people went there.
Yeah.
And then after that, I came straight out of that, and pretty soon after that, I worked at the Orange Tree, and then I did Family Affairs.
Fantastic. And it was your dad. Your dad's the writer, isn't he, in the family? He's the artistic one, isn't he?
Yeah. And there's a really nice story actually about, because when I left drama school, I didn't have an agent. This is just a nice link to the bill. And you know how funny things happen and your career goes a certain way. And if it hadn't been for that one random conversation. So my dad's always just loved sailing, and he had a little sailing boat down at Brighton Marina, and his best friend, Jeff, they used to hang out, and I was sort of writing to lots of agents and desperately trying to get work. And when I'd left drama school, and my dad was talking to Jeff, his best mate, and he said, "Oh, it's so hard, you know, they're trying so hard, and you know, she just needs a bit of help, and we don't know anyone." And and Jeff went, "Oh, there's an actor, Chris Ellison, who played Burnside. He hangs out down here. Let me have a chat with him, see if he knows anybody." And Chris Ellison, who I've never met, but I've told Mark Wingett this story a few times because they're really old friends. Jeff went and spoke to Chris, and Chris went, "Oh, you know, I'll speak to my agent, Joy Jameson. She's only got 25 clients. She probably won't take her on, but she might, you know." And it was just really lucky that Joy, who's fantastic, can speak like this. I got this phone call. "Hello, Beth, it's Joy Jameson here." She was looking for someone like me, and she took me on without even seeing me do anything. So then I had an agent. So it was all thanks to Chris Ellison. Burnside.
And he's another Brighton boy, isn't he? He lives down here. And he was my first guest appearance episode before I played McAllister. So
oh my God.
I had such a laugh, and I really would love to bump into him down here.
Yeah.
He was real. Hey, you've moved from London to Brighton recently. You are a Brighton girl.
Yeah, I'm from Brighton. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. I kind of wanted to move back for 25 years. And when you were moving, I was like, "Move to Brighton, you'll love it, you'll love it. I might move back." And then it took me even longer. And the thing I didn't like about London, I always felt a bit temporary in London. It always kind of, I think if you're brought up there, you can kind of cope with it. But to me, I never really felt like it was home. And I'm crazy about the sea, obviously being from Brighton, but also it's just really friendly down here and really relaxed. And I love the vibe. So I always knew I wanted to come back. And I separated from my husband 5 years ago, but then I still couldn't decide because we're really close, and he was able to see Eliza loads. So that was another difficult thing. And then finally, it was in the summer, and it was Eliza that pushed us. She was like, "Come on, Mum, I want to move to Brighton." So we did it. And I was like, "I don't know." And I literally was changing my mind day to day, because I kept thinking, well, the thing I hate about London is the rat race. But if you step out of the rat race, are you kind of not giving up? But, you know, is it then, are you taking yourself out of the rat race so that then actually doesn't make any difference at all?
For me, it was the same thing. I was just so like London. And then maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's the family thing, but you start not doing the things that are on your doorstep, like going to the theatre. And that's what I found. I was like weighing it up, going, hang on, this is not right, because I'm not actually part of this now. In my 20s, rocking up to an audition in my Mini and parking in Dean Street and Soho and going for coffee, and you know, those days are gone. You can't do that. You have to travel by tube, you have to take the bus, and it was all an effort.
Yeah.
So that was the defining factor for me, and it was such a great time in the 90s. I don't think I could ever repeat that. Back when we were at the Bill, the studios in South Wimbledon, you and I were living Clapham.
Yeah.
We were both in Clapham, and we used to frequent rather a lot a French restaurant.
Yes, Gastro! The Bistro on Penny Street. Yeah, still there at the cafe.
It's fantastic. We used to meet up and have lovely glasses of wine in the day and chew the fat, and then like we'd have a day off. And so I think I got to know you more out of school. I was just about to say out of the Bill.
Yeah. School. No, that's true. No, because I was uniform and you were, what's it called? Not uniform.
CID.
CID.
Not uniform.
We didn't really have much to do with each other, but we did become really close, didn't we?
We did. And we had those odd scenes where there'd be those sort of, the funeral scripts. There'd be those en masse. We'd all go off for a jolly to the funeral, or or there'd be a fire, and we'd meet on those locations. But we never actually did that many. I don't think even scenes. We didn't do that many scenes together.
Because you had all the stuff with Stephen Hartley, all that storyline with that stuff going on, I think, when I was around. And
looking at Kerry Young's story, Ollie sent me a fantastic, I don't know, I'd never seen it. It was with Todd.
Oh, Kerry's story, that little mini TV movie they made.
It was hilarious.
I know, Todd,
brilliant.
Todd being evil Gabriel and narrating the whole thing. Well, Kerry, you made a mistake there, didn't you? Sleeping with him and doing this and doing that. I know, it's brilliant.
It was
really tough. Yeah, they did that after I died, didn't they? They did a little spin-off.
It was so good. And it took me back to, I think when you're in the show, we don't watch it. So we don't really know what's going on with the other characters.
Yeah.
What was your defining moment in Kerry's life? Would it be your personal life, or would it be more the criminal side of stuff that you preferred?
Well, that's a good question. Because when they brought us in, me and Roberta Taylor, and there was a whole group of us that came in, was with Paul Marquez, and the personal life came in much more when he brought in more of the kind of serial drama soap type aspect of it. Well, because the whole thing with the character was, for the first year, there was all that stuff with Scott Neal, where she was with Ashton, where she was in love with him and then married him, and the whole world knew that he was gay apart from Kerry Young. And then he slept with the sergeant the night before their wedding and all that. And it was all really fun, because I remember doing stuff like, I still had fun stuff with running around a market in a wedding dress and doing a "you're nicked" to someone when I was trying on a wedding dress, all that mad kind of stuff. Then she eventually found out. Then she had a miscarriage. That was a good storyline, actually. I remember feeling quite chuffed that they gave me that storyline, because, it was something you could really find out about and research, and felt quite important to those things that when they put them on screen, they feel quite a bit of a privilege to kind of be able to work on. So that was a good storyline. And then I remember talking to Paul and saying, because I'd been my character in Family Affairs had been such a tearaway and so nasty and naughty. She was kind of doing coke and she was doing lap dancing. She was a 17-year-old, really naughty. So I'd said to Paul, I'm fed up of being nasty. I want to be someone nice. So that's why the whole thing was that Kerry was going to be nice. But then she was a bit of a victim, because stuff just kept happening to her. So then we had a chat about halfway through, and I was like, yeah, I'm fed up with being nice. So then she started having the storylines I really loved. Actually, I was really lucky, was when she went undercover and then went over to that was probably my favorite storylines, because they were quite gritty. So I went undercover, and there was, with Linda Bellingham and Alec McSweeney, I got involved with these gangsters undercover, and it was all with Smithy coming and finding me and going, "What are you doing here?" And me going, "Shh, you're going to blow the whole operation." And then my character went to the other side, because she got all confused, because she wasn't, you didn't know whether she'd gone over to the dark side or not. But the other storyline I really thought was brilliant was, there was something I was doing when Daniel McPherson was still in the show. I remember, because it was an episode that we did, where it was a kind of big one-off, where there was a guy that had a bomb strapped to him. Do you remember that episode?
Oh, yeah. And
it was me trying to talk him down, and he had this bomb, and he was a brilliant actor. He was like really panicking and shaking, and I was trying to get him to stay with me. And then Cameron, Daniel's character, kept going on at me, and I took my eyes off this guy for 1 minute to answer back to Cameron, and then the guy with the bomb strapped on him panicked and moved and blew up, and there was rubble everywhere. And I remember that was kind of an amazing episode to do, when they do those when they do big fires or big, they did this huge explosion, and we were all covered in dust and rubble and stuff. So, and then there was some quite emotional PTSD scenes after that, which were really good, actually.
Yeah, she had a great arc, Kerry. She was really well written for. You were blessed really on that front. You had a great arc that you could tune into as an actor. It was like people downplay the bill, but it was so, we were lucky to have.
You really were. You really got to act, like properly act, kind of Yeah, some
Yeah.
really lovely meaty storylines that you could really get your teeth into. I agree with you, yeah. Because you had loads as well, didn't you? With your did you have a miscarriage? Because I remember when
Probably.
you had that
I
pregnancy. I
can't
remember seeing
remember.
you with the pregnancy bump because we used to just see
No,
each other more backstage. You went around
yeah,
with the pregnancy bump for
I
ages.
had the bump because I went into labour when I was up against the gun with Mr. Chandler.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, no, I didn't miscarry because Andrew is alive somewhere. He's alive and kicking somewhere, however old he is. I think we did work out how old he would be. And actually, Stephen did answer, and because I said, someone asked me this, and I couldn't answer. What was our son's name? And he said, I don't know, I was dead. Because I remember there were so many guest actors that came on that were brilliant. My one was Russell Tovey. I always singled him out. I was just like, whoever this kid is, he's going to be big.
Yeah.
And of course he is. Was there anyone that you did scenes with?
You're really lucky as a what's the opposite to a guest? What
Regular.
A regular. God. As a regular, because all these fantastic guests coming in, like some of them will be quite, stars from before, and people go, oh my God, I can't believe you're working with so and so.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, there would be some really talented youngsters coming through. I remember a girl coming through and thinking, oh, she's going to be brilliant. And then you see them popping up on things, don't you? And you go, oh, I work with them. But I suppose for me, what I think I was really lucky to work with Linda Bellingham, actually. She wanted to do a more sort of gritty character. And so because they'd given her sort of gangster boss part, we had to do some great scenes with her, when I was trying to pretend to be on their side, on the gangsters' side. And they had these Eastern European prostitutes being kept in a room upstairs. She was brilliant, Linda. She was like, hit her. Go on, hit her. And I had to punch this girl in the face who I was actually trying to help. And all that kind of stuff. And I loved working with her. I got to know her really well. We were friends after that, and I went to her wedding and stuff. And yeah, so, and it's that kind of thing. That's the lovely thing about this work, actually, isn't it? We get to meet and work with so many special people that come into your lives, and they're your family for a bit, and then you move into another job, and
the family gets just bigger and bigger, doesn't it? I've got to go back to the kissing. You had so many kisses in that show.
Oh my God. Has Ollie got
I was a kisser, but you had so many kisses.
I was a village bike. Oh my God. I know. I think I probably had more on Family Affairs, actually, that show before. It exhausted me. Because I had a husband when I joined, a fiance when I joined the show, but I don't think I had to kiss him. Simon. And then I had Luke. That happened pretty quickly. And then there was all the Smithy stuff. And then there was all the...
Didn't you kiss Renee?
Oh, yeah, my first scene was kissing Ren. Actually, that's quite a funny story because Renee Zaga, what was his character name?
Nick Klein.
Oh yeah, Nick Klein. So that first scene, they did that one of those classic entrances of a new character, which you see quite a lot in soaps and stuff. So we met out in a club, and he was pretending to be a pilot, and I was pretending to be a hairdresser, I think.
You were, because I saw it this morning. I did a quick little.
Oh, Matt.
Yeah, I did.
And all glammed up with the lip gloss and the shiny top. And then we had some scene snogging down an alleyway. And then the whole thing was, now introducing to all of you our new person that's joining the team. And it was Kerry Young, and me and Nick Klein's eyes were like. But what was really funny is, as Nat knows very well, I blush all the time. It's got slightly better as I've got older, but not really. And I particularly blush at things like that because I always want to be one of those really cool actresses that goes, oh yeah, I can snog people without worrying about it. Just take it in my stride. And I'm not very cool about stuff like that. So with Renee, you won't mind me saying this, it was hilarious. So we did that scene, and I wanted to be all cool and not blush. So as soon as if you're someone who blushes, as soon as you say to yourself, right, it'll be really embarrassing if you blush, you start going red. So I started going red, not during the actual scene, but like when I first met him, I thought, oh God, we've got to snog. That's embarrassing. And then we did it. And then literally for the 2 years I was on the show, every single time I saw Renee, like he'd walk down the corridor or something, I just go red. And I remember he walked down the corridor once, and I was a beat shoot, and he was like, oh, Bear. And I was like, I'm so embarrassed. That's so ridiculous. I just got this thing in my head. It's Renee. I'm going to go red.
I did that with Scott Maslin, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, because you're same thing. It's like, I'm kissing Scott today.
Yeah.
That's really a hard day's work.
It's so embarrassing. And I've even had like hypnotherapy about it, where not hypnotherapy actually, because my therapist wouldn't give me hypnotherapy on it, because he said, no, I'm not going to hypnotize you not to blush. It's a natural reaction. You just have to say to the person, I'm going to blush. That's what you have to own it, apparently. And then you go red, and then
You have to own your blush.
But lots of good people blush. Lots of my favourite people blush.
I blushed last week. I had a theatre audition, and I've not done a theatre audition for so long, but it was improv, and they said it would take an hour. And just your reaction going,
oh, horrendous.
I've got to do this because I need to get over the fact that, we've all been in lockdown. We've all had to do self-tapes, which are a nightmare. I don't know if you find them a nightmare.
Yeah.
They are hideous because you're having to do all the setting up. You're playing off someone, but you're not. It's just a really weird one. So when you actually walking into a room of actors and a director, the artistic director, it was like, oh, this is really exciting. Aww. But then we did warm-ups, and then we had to get into the ring and be given a cue to walk into the ring and talk. So immediately you just go, whoo, because you're not used to being. It was such a weird experience.
Very exposing.
It was really exposing. It was great fun, and it took 2 hours, 3/4. It was nearly 3 hours on a Friday evening. And I walked out of there going, you know what, even if I don't get this, it's like, it's okay, because I've just gone through that. And I think as actors, we do that. We do sort of take all that stuff on and start picking it afterwards. I was like, oh no, why did I say that? This thing was a political piece.
Yeah.
So they were really trying to find what our passions were as human beings, as far as world news, all of those things. But when it came to me, I stood in the ring and started talking about my dog. Why? You just think, why did I do that? And I came out going, what was that about? Everyone was talking about, being sustainable with their food and, eco this, and I'm a vegan, and it all really got heavy. And I think I just wanted to change it up and go, right, I'm going to talk about my passion. My dog is my passion.
Okay.
Go a bit lighter. Anyway, I didn't get the job. Have you got a regrettable audition that you've ever done, and then you've walked out and done that sort of like, why did you do that? Millions. There you go.
And it's that weird thing, isn't it? Where the thing is, you go into an audition and you have the adrenaline going. And I always joke that, I always get the jobs that I'm not that bothered about or that I don't want, because you give off an energy of being like, this is fine, I can do this. I could do this standing on my head. Or if not that, just like, oh yeah. So you don't give off that needy kind of desire thing. Bryan Cranston, there's a brilliant clip I've watched, Bryan Cranston talking about this, and he says, people don't like needy people, in relationships or whatever. No one wants to go out with a needy person. So you try and think, don't be needy, don't be too keen, look confident. And you try and think, how do you try and be like you would be in the auditions that you're kind of more chilled about, when it's something you really want, like a big film or a big whatever. And I think it's really hard. I remember going for an audition for a film. This is years ago. I mean, I've had so many of these. A film, and it was the director who directed Bend It Like Beckham. And I'd made the mistake of watching Bend It Like Beckham the night before. And I just went in, and they must have just thought I was insane. I was kind of like, oh my God, I watched that last night, and it's just so brilliant. It's so brilliant. You're so talented. And, you could literally see them go like this. And then at the end, they were like, thanks very much for coming in. And I went, no, it's a pleasure. It's just so cringe. And or other ones where you go in and you think, well, this is going well. And you start talking and you start going, and your adrenaline's going. And then you think, oh, I'm really making them laugh. I'm being really funny. They think I'm really funny. And there's 5 people on the panel staring at you. Going, and then you walk out and you just think, oh, it's like kind of stroke or something. It's horrendous. So I don't know. It's about trying to breathe and just I don't know. I quite often look at really successful film stars and think, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about, he said, oh, I just love Florence Pugh. And I said, oh, that's interesting. What do you love about her? And he said, I think it's her confidence. I saw her interviewed and she's so confident. I don't know whether it's a nature thing or a nurture thing, but confidence is everything, really, isn't it? About that vibe you give off. There's some arenas where you'll feel really confident, and there's some arenas where for some reason you feel like you're not worthy of it. It might be a type of drama that you've always wanted to be in, whether it's a period drama or a Netflix series or whatever it is, and you somehow think, oh my god, this would be so amazing to be in this, oh my god, rather than thinking, I had to be talked off the side of a cliff by a friend of mine last year. She said, you are a seasoned actress of 20 years. You've been a lead at the RSC. Stop the imposter syndrome. And it was like, I suddenly was able to sort of see my career the way she would see it, rather than being me in my head, still being neurotic and kind of like, so grateful that somebody wants to give you a job. Because I think as an actor, sometimes you never really lose that feeling of, wow, was that okay? Do you think, And then, of course, when you're doing it, you can do it and you're much more confident. But the problem with an audition scenario is it can feel like a test sometimes.
You came out of lockdown and went to the RSC, darling. You were on at the Globe.
Oh, no, the Globe. That was the Globe. Yeah.
You were on at the Globe playing Lady Capulet.
Yeah.
Looking incredible. You had the most amazing costumes. You were just, and even that you talked down. You are so gorgeous, Beth. You don't understand how gorgeous you are. You're such a beautiful human being. And your confidence should be, your how your journey's gone from just talking back from, your drama school days. And if you look on paper what you've done, you've produced a gorgeous daughter as well. So, bravo to you. Oh, can I just read this? Short film, Learning to Walk Again, selected for multiple festivals, including Venice Shorts.
That was really cool, actually. I love doing that. That was weird because an old friend of mine, Sam, contacted me and said, I'm thinking of doing this film because he produces Jamie Johnston and all these kind of things. And he said, I want to have a go at the directing side of it. And I was like, he went, I think you're doing this short film. It's about this, this and this. And I went, oh, that's weird. Because it was basically about a couple with a child who decide to go their separate ways, and she wants to go home. And he said, and I found this place, it's really amazing, just outside Brighton, it's called Devil's Dyke. And I was like, I went there yesterday with my daughter Sam. I'm basically the character moving back home. And there was this hilarious scene we were filming when I was walking up the hill on the downs. And it was after she's left and she's gone. She has a big row with the husband and the ex-husband, and they decide to move and they decide she's going to leave and go home. And I had this scene where I was like, I just want to go home. And then I was walking up the hill and it was a sunny day. And we had this fantastic cameraman, Richard Swingle, and all this stuff. And it was brilliant. And Sam went, all right, can we go again? Beth, can you try and look a bit less happy? Because I was literally walking up the hill going, I'm home. Like, for me, I was in Sound of Music or something. I was supposed to be looking a bit distressed about the fact that my world had fallen apart.
But you, in real life, were so happy to come home. Yeah, and we're happy you're home in Brighton.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's brilliant. It's all brilliant. It's been amazing.
What's your nearly job? Have you got one of those nearly jobs? Because in my 20s, before I think I was about 23 or something like that, and there was one of these sort of big calls for they were looking for a duo presenter for children's TV, which probably was the sort of Zoe Ball sort of type journey that would have been. And me and Dexter Fletcher, we went through all these auditions, and it was me and Dexter Fletcher that were going to be the I know. When I look back, and it's really funny because both our agents turned down a 2-year contract because they didn't want us to be, when you think, where would that have gone if I'd gone in that direction? I mean, Dexter Fletcher's like Mr. Director now, isn't he? It's just like, whoa. But if you got one of those like nearlies.
When I left Family Affairs, I was going up for this, it was in the West End, and it was Noel Coward, and I had this weird Madonna moment that I've never had before or since, of saying, well, I want to play Norma. She's the lead. And they were like, well, she's the lead. And I went, yeah, no, but it's the only decent character. Because my agent had read it and said, well, you have to play Norma if you're going to be in this because it's the best character. And so I just sort of said it in this and then sort of fought to get that part. They decided to take a chance on me and cast me as the lead in this big West End Noel Coward thing called Semi-Monde. And at the same time, I was going up for a character in something little known show called The Office. It wasn't the Lucy Davis part, it was another part. It was a similar character to who I'd played in Family Affairs, and sort of naughty, grumpy sort of teenager character. They both came in at the same time, and I think I'd got down to the last 2 or 3 or whatever. The theatre job came through and they said, okay, we're going to give her the lead. And I was so thrilled because when I'd left drama school, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on at the West End and, do proper Noel Coward type play. And my agent was like, are you sure? Because if I ring and take you out of the BBC, it's the BBC. And I was like, no, I know, but I've played that character. I've been playing that character for a year. Like this is, the West End, it's Noel Coward and it's Delma Hall producing it. And, it's really serious actor stuff and da-da-da. Anyway, so effectively not in The Office. Never mind, darling.
There's lots more Bill chat to come in part 2 of my podcast with lovely Beth, which will be released next month. If you can't wait until then, you can unlock the whole trilogy now on patreon.com/The Bill Podcast, where there's over 80 hours of bonus content for you Bill fans to investigate. Plus my next podcasts with Raji James, Vic Singh, and Jane Wall, Di Worrell. I've got to give huge thank you to the podcast's new theme music composer, the very clever Matthew Annis, who has recreated lots more theme tunes over on his YouTube channel at Matthew Annis Music. You've been listening to me, Natalie Roles. You can find me on Twitter at Natalie Roles Act and Instagram at Real Natalie Roles. Follow The Bill Podcast on facebook.com/The Bill Podcast. Now, I'm going to hand you over to a fellow Sunhill CID sergeant, the wonderful Andrew McIntosh, who is going to read out our closing credits after telling you about our brand new dramatised podcast we've been working on together, Letter from Helvetica. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hello, this is Andrew McIntosh, and you have been listening to The Bill Podcast, brought to you in association with georgefairbrother.com and shop.saturdaymorningpress.co.uk. The Bill Podcast is presented by the fabulous Natalie Roles, who you might like to know co-stars with me in a brand new dramatised podcast, where we have both cast off our CID suits to play a collection of diverse characters. Letter from Helvetica is an 8-part comedy drama series taking the form of emails exchanged between Abigail Wesley, a talented young botanist played by Natalie, and her Uncle John, an acerbic retired lieutenant colonel played by me. Abigail has been sent to research, among other things, Kava Kava route on the ever so slightly made up island of Burbango, a tiny speck of dormant volcano nestling among the 83 islands that make up the South Pacific nation of Vanuatu. My character, John Stotter, lives in a rambling old house in the not quite real village of Helvetica, which skulks in the far western reaches of Cornwall. Uncle to Abigail, The two enjoy a relationship that is considerably closer than Natchi has ever had with her own father. They resolve to write to each other regularly during her sojourn in the Southern Hemisphere. Letter from Helvetica is the collected chronicles, tales, musings and canards that constitute their correspondence, introducing us along the way to a veritable mishmash, jumble and salamagundai of characters, all of which we bring to life. There's Smiling Stephen, Martin the German, Zlata the house elf, and Derek, to name but a few. Letter from Helvetica is releasing weekly on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. BST on all good podcasting platforms. Do give us a listen. We'd love to hear what you think. Now, yes, back to Sun Hill. The Bill podcast is produced by Oliver Crocker, co-produced by Ben Adams, Glenn Allen, Rob Cook, Sarah Kuiper, Maz Mirabilis, Alex Mockler and Simon Wolfe. Executive produced by Ben Ashmore, Simon Banstead, Craig Beresford, Alana Dewar, Andrew Dyack, Paul Dunn, Dan Evans, George Fairbrother, Luke Hegarty, Edward Kellett, James Ledane, Lucy McNeil, Gary Moncur, Claire Norbury, Laura Penny-Fay, Michael Seeley, Tom Sherrington, Angel Stannard, Patrick Stratford, Michael Weil and Sarah Went. The theme music is composed by Matthew Annis. For over 80 hours of exclusive The Bill podcast content, including cast and crew commentaries, I've done a couple of those, reunions, I've done a couple of those too, reactions, pilgrimages, off-the-beat podcasts and much more, join the investigation. Patreon.com/The Bill Podcast. Oh, you lucky devils.